These are just some little recovery stretches that you can use when you've done an event, an obstacle event like True Grit or so on, just to loosen up the lower body. I did it yesterday, pretty tight today. One of the main muscle groups that was sore for me was the tibialis anterior, so the front of your shin bone, the muscle that is responsible for this dorsiflexion. So one of the first things obviously that I suggest is that you generally warm up just to get the blood flow going. You can take a walk, you can do some dynamic stretches if you want, but then what you want to do is get some mobility back in your joints. So the first one that I started for the tibialis anterior was this, to restore some mobility back into there. Obviously you want to get that foot facing down and just gently start to sit onto your feet like so. I'm actually cramping up just doing this. Okay, I normally go for about 10 reps, let the body ease into it, breathing and stretching go together. Okay, then when you feel that you've started to loosen up the muscle, to increase that stretch slightly, okay, you can take some of the weight by pushing through your hands and lifting at the knees. Okay, you don't want to be loading the feet right now. This is just to get an increased stretch. So once again, from there, just gently lift through, and that will give you a greater stretch from the anterior tibialis. If you find it hard to lift your body weight up to support that stretch, you can just use something to elevate the hands, okay, to hold you so that you don't have to press as much through the hands. You're just going to go into this position here, okay? Knees are off the ground, you've got to get a nice stretch through that. Really feel the stretch. Next up, staying with the ankle joints. We're going to work some ankle mobility. Just go into a split stance like so, okay? And I normally place my hand over my foot, okay? And you want to let that knee travel forward without your heel leaving the ground, okay? So these actually good stretch as well you can do to increase dorsiflexion. That is just working it through there. If you feel the need, you can keep the heel on the floor with the other hand, and you're going to go into that abduction, opening up the hips, rock it forward and back, forward. Okay. Now you can also go inwards a little bit. Do this right, you'll start to feel it once again through your ankle joints there. Obviously, once you feel some release there, you then go into the other leg. Next up, I normally go into some deep squat position. I haven't yet started stretching out the hamstrings or the calves. This is more just to start to open up the hip. So going into that deep squat position, placing your hands together and pushing out. I'm trying to maintain gaze forward, chest out, and just restoring some movement through the hip joints. Cool. In the front, looks like this. It's quite simple, nothing strenuous. Okay, just working through there. And to get some internal rotation, pivoting through, forward. Okay, so taking the leg on the inside while keeping the other leg facing forward. The ball of your feet, just rolling in, rolling in. Okay, if you struggle to get depth in your squat, like so, without finding yourself leaning forward, you can use something to elevate heels only, okay, and that will give you some increased dorsiflexion simply because of how it sets the foot. Okay, and from that position there, once again, roll through. Okay, this one here is a really good one for the lower back, and it looks like this. Hold on to one ankle, opposite hand on the shoulder. From that position there, without letting go of either points, just stretch by driving the elbow to the side and up. Okay, this is going to get quadratus lumborum muscle around here. Okay, a lot of people get tight here. Quadratus lumborum. through, and you can lengthen and open the hand for a greater stretch. Then you just repeat it onto the other side. Okay, not letting go of either side. Greatest lumbar stretch. We'll now start translating a deeper stretch from the hamstrings, okay, hip flexors and the glutes. We're going to go into a single leg split, spider stretch from a split lunge position. You can start with the knee on the ground, hands on the inside, shoulder width apart, foot is on the outside, like so. Okay, from that position there, it's driving the hip down. Okay, that's going to start to really open up the hip flexors here, while simultaneously stretching up the glute and the hamstring on the front leg. Okay, I'm going to increase the stretch a little bit. Simply straighten that back leg up to get a bit more range of motion. But once again, if you can't get to this part here, just keep your back knee on the ground. Okay, if you find that you're not very challenged in this position, you want to take it even further, you can start one limb at a time, dropping it down, and if you're still comfortable there, other one. Okay, this will give you a nice deep stretch onto the hamstring, glute, and the hip flexors. You can get some spinal rotation here if you want. Right, up. Once again, you have to be quite flexible to get down this low. And other side. From that position then we're going to go into a frog straddle, which is basically hands shoulder width apart. Once again, palms are spread. You start with flat feet. If you find yourself on your toes, it's okay, right? And it's just allowing the lower body weight to increase the stretch into the hips by leaning forward and taking some of that weight onto your hands. Pretty simple, there's no rocket science here. And then you can get some gentle side to side once again. But you're keeping your feet on the ground, okay? Just translating some of that weight forward. Okay, and from that, you can go into a butterfly stretch, which is butt on the ground, fit together, soles of your feet together. Okay? You want to bring the heels as close to the hip as they will go. Okay? Palms are open at the back, flat, and then move through that motion. And once you've had enough, take it together. Remember, breathing is essential with your stretches. I normally inhale, and when I want to go further into a stretch, exhale, and the body will allow you to go naturally deeper into the stretch, 2 or 3 breaths in, okay? Next up, we're going to start to work with your glute medius, okay? And pretty straightforward, so glute medius pre and foremost, a good stretch for that is a pigeon stretch. So you want to get yourself into what they call a hurdle position. Okay, one leg is forward, okay, the other one's to the side to create that sort of shape here. Opposite hand to the bent leg at the front. Okay, I normally find my groin line and reach for the floor through that and forward. Do this right, you're going to start to feel it on the side of your butt. Okay? You can also change direction, go directly forward. You can just experiment a little bit. Wherever you go, if you're tight in the glutes right now, it's going to feel awesome. Okay, and then if I want to, I can just go to the other side. Like so. Leg is on the side, opposite hand, forward. Groin line. If that wasn't too challenging for you, you can do the advanced pigeon stretch. So it's the same position, front leg into that position there, and then from there now, you might not be able to reach the floor with your back knee, that's fine. But if you can really get a nice deep stretch through there. Just work with what you've got. I normally find that I've got more range of motion on the left hip than the right hip. So each person is different, right? Really nice deep stretch. Going into the quads, there's a ton of different stretches that you can do. These are the ones that I like. So I keep my feet with the toes on the ground, kneeling down, hands back, and from that, drive my hip up. I get a really nice stretch from there. So once again, relaxing and then driving that hip up. If you don't have the mobility for this, you can just go into your ordinary quad stretch from that split lunge position. Rather than going forward here automatically, you can pre-stretch the hip muscle by driving the glute forward here and then taking it forward at the front knee to what you can bear. But once again, I tend to get a bit more from the other stretch, but everybody's different. Okay, if you want to increase it even further from this position here, drive your hands on the ground. Try not to round your back out for this one because you want to be here instead. Grab that back knee and drive it forward. This tends to get the lower part of the quad for me. It's quite a nice stretch. Then I'll start to combine everything from the hammies and that hip position, okay, by going into a form of a straddle position, hands on the ground, okay. Obviously the further back I put my hands towards my midline and sink that butt back to grab the stretch in the hamstring, but just work with what you've got. So I feel that I can go a bit wider, start to really push it back, under control, sitting back. Nice stretch through the adductors, okay? Chant your abductors. Abductors are your inner hip muscles. Really nice stretch through that. Sitting back and pushing that hip back. Okay. You might be very flexible, you might not feel anything here, but I'm definitely feeling it. And once we've got that, you can start playing with the downward dog variation. Okay, so start on your toes. As you push it back, you want to connect the heels to the ground. That's going to start to stretch your calf muscles. Okay, you're not feeling much there. You can increase it by becoming shorter. You can even drop your elbows to increase the stretch on those calves. So dynamic is releasing, working through it. Start playing around with that combination there. Once you feel that you've begun to loosen up the hip region, okay, your adductors and the hammies and so on, okay, then you can start to go into a bit more mobile movements, okay, sinking into one leg, okay, keeping this leg straight. And then, as I say, step on the accelerator. A lot of people have trouble getting to this position, they'll start to lose their balance. If that's you, you can place one hand at the back to support you, okay? And then if you can, drop that hip into your reaching floor and reach through. It's really challenging if you don't have that mobility. Stretch through that, take it back to the front, switch your position through there. Get that initial stretch, place the hand at the back, sit the hip down, reach in. Okay, by now you start to feel quite loose. You can play around one side and then drive it through the hips to the other side, and so on. Okay? You can always digress the amount of depth or angle that you're going into these positions if you don't have that mobility yet, and you're still getting a good stretch. I haven't pulled out foam rollers or physio balls because I didn't want to go into myofascial or deep tissue release, okay? Just wanted to keep it minimal, no equipment. But if you got yourself something like this, which is even like a broomstick, you know, something as simple as that. Okay, one thing that you can do to open up the lats, okay, is place the stick with your hand facing forward like so. Okay, take that hand back side of your body. Okay, drive it underneath the opposing arm. The stick side, bring that leg into a split lunge position. Once again, leave enough space so that your legs aren't directly together, like so. Place the stick on the inside of your thigh, okay, and then turn the body towards the direction of the stick, okay, towards the side of the stick is on. You're going to feel a nice stretch through your lat. It's also a good shoulder opener. On the side, looks like this, so you still want to stay upright. Really good stretch. Now you can repeat on the other side. Next up, once you've loosened out the lats, you can go into the overhead squat using a dowel, which is one of the best indicators how well you move. Alright, basically it's going to give you that overhead. Placing the hands behind the head, like so, around there. Going into that deep squat. And my son has decided to start wanting attention right now. Through that. And then you can increase it even more by going into that split lunge variation. This is really going to start to challenge you. Okay, through here. Taking it forward. Switching to the other side. That's the stretch times 100. Lastly, to get some spinal extension, thoracic extension, okay, into your lap. There's nothing better than the crab bridge. It's also going to target your hip flexors and hip muscles. Okay, so from there, like so, okay, elevate the butt to say 2 centimeters off the ground. If you haven't really done crab stretch before, just sort out the spacing because you don't want to end up too short or too narrow. Okay, butt should be in the middle of the feet and the hands. Take one hand up here, keep this shoulder nice and active so you're not shrugging through it. From there, we're going to extend the hip upwards at first. Okay, then you're going to get a hip rotation as your eyes follow that hand all the way through the opposing hand. Okay, try to keep that hip nice and lifted. Great spinal stretch. T-spine, hip flexors, and so on. And you can do it on the other side. Alright, well, I feel better already.